It's official as the Vancouver Canucks now have a new head coach, which already has fans divided on social media, as opposed to what the reception in the locker room must have been. And we take a look at a major factor in all of the hiring process as it pertains to one player in particular. We're going to be breaking down all of that in this episode of Canucks Digest. But first, if you're enjoying this Canucks content, you want to stay up to date, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you can stay up to date on all things Canucks. It's going to be a very busy summer, and we just got our first kickoff here. And with that, let's hop straight into it, which is that the Vancouver Canucks have hired Adam Foote as their new head coach to replace Rick Tocchet. He has been the assistant coach for the past few seasons in Vancouver. If you guys haven't been familiar, obviously since January of 2023, he has been an assistant with Rick Tocchet. Also served as head coach of the Kelowna Rockets of the WHL for a season and a half and spent 7 seasons as a defensive coach with the Colorado Avalanche. The 53-year-old also had a long playing career and spending 19 seasons with the Quebec Nordiques, Avalanche, and Columbus Blue Jackets. So this is a guy who's been around the league a long time, and we know that this has been a starting trend now almost amongst the NHL, where we see a lot of former players become coaches rather than lifelong coaches continuing to coach. We've seen how players have really reacted to that and really responded to it in the case of Rick Tocchet, with these players just playing their ass off for him. And now there's a chance to go and do that with Adam Foote, who, yes, his playing career, very, very storied, very long tenured defenseman with the Quebec Nordiques, then became the Colorado Avalanche, and then over to the Columbus Blue Jackets, then back to the Colorado Avalanche to finish off his career, winning 2 cups in the process, also winning an OHL championship. But as far as it's translated into coaching, hasn't been the greatest of success for him. Just that 1 season and a half in Kelowna, which, as many have been reporting on, was not the greatest of stints for him as a head coach, which kind of led to him being fired mid-season. Then you have also the tenure there with the Colorado Avalanche and in their system as well as a team consultant, defensive coach, and an assistant coach as well, before coming over to the Vancouver Canucks, being hired mid-season in 2022-2023 and spending the past 2 seasons with Rick Tocchet. So I know that this resume has given people a lot of pause for concern. There's been a lot of people talking about how this isn't the right fit. Manny Malhotra is more experienced, even though it's not in coaching, and so many other things. However, at least it's not Peter Laviolette. That's exactly what Mark was saying to me before I started recording, is that at least it wasn't Laviolette, and at least it's somebody that players do like. And one person who I think is definitely going to be happy about this signing is somebody that I think was a major part of this hiring process, and that was Quinn Hughes. When a while back talking to TNT, talking about Adam Foote, he says there's a lot of coaches out there that, scream and yell, and they want to, really bully their players, intimidate their players. And this is a guy that I would say coaches his defensemen, coaches his players like he'd want his kids coached. And then on top of that, with all the experience that he has. So obviously Quinn Hughes is a very big Adam Foote fan. He's been speaking very highly of him, especially since the season ended and once Rick Tocchet left. So obviously Quinn Hughes was definitely a big part of this. We've been talking for the past few weeks how Quinn Hughes is almost someone you need to have in these conversations. And I know a lot of the comments are saying you don't have a player in those conversations as far as a head coach. They're not a GM. But when we've seen in other sports where it works out the right way, when a player is involved in those conversations, especially when it's your star player, especially when it's a player that you could be losing in 2 seasons, you want to make sure that it is somebody that player likes and will gravitate towards, so you can keep them happy and keep them in Vancouver for a long time. That was definitely the move here with Hughes. He doesn't have too much of a relationship with Manny Malhotra. He already has the relationship installed with Adam Foote, and he already brings that experience with the long tenure in the NHL, as well as a long playing career and relative success as a player and some success as a coach. However, now it's time for him to just step up, be the bench boss, and really it's time to nut up or shut up at this point for Adam Foote, where he's just been given his first opportunity as an NHL head coach, and I'm very happy for him. I think this is going to be very exciting for the Canucks, whether it's going to work out in a good way or a bad way. It's going to be explosive nonetheless, whether we're winning games or losing games embarrassingly. That is going to remain to be seen for next season. However, with this, a lot of people are jumping into the comments on social media and just in general saying that it's the same style of play that Rick Tocchet played. Carolina is running that same kind of system right now with dump and chase hockey, but it's working out for them. They're looking like a Stanley Cup favorite right now. With Vancouver, we don't have a lot of those pieces that they have, mainly because we were trying to make top 6 guys out of bottom 6 guys for almost half of the season, relying on these AHL call-ups to fill in for those spots, which Manny has done a great job at getting NHL ready. And that's the other thing with Manny Malhotra and all this as well, is that him and Adam Foote can kind of work in tandem, where if Foote isn't a long-term plan, especially if they can't get Quinn Hughes, you have Foote for 2 seasons. Within those 2 seasons, Manny Malhotra is going to keep sending Adam Foote different players from the AHL that, hey, you can develop these guys. These guys could be permanent roster guys. We see that happen with DPD. We saw that happen with Atu Ratu potentially next season, and some other prospects that will be full-time roster residents by the end of next season. So with that, if Foote isn't a long-term solution, then at least you have 2 years of Manny Malhotra prepping these pieces to put in place so that when he does get to Vancouver, you have a team of guys that already love him, that he's already developed, plus the veterans there that will rally behind him because the young guys already like him, and that'll be a big step forward. Now, with Adam Foote, if it is a long-term solution, at least you have a possibility at trying to land Quinn Hughes down. If it doesn't work out within the first season or so, that's when we're going to run into some speed bumps, and we're probably going to see Quinn moved out to New Jersey to play with his brothers. But we're not trying to think about that. That's the worst case Ontario at this point. We are trying to think as far as winning games and trying to go on playoff runs. And hopefully Adam Foote is the person that can lead this ship in the right direction, along with Quinn Hughes at the helm as a captain and his assistant captains along the way with Tyler Myers and Elias Pettersson. We'll see how that A kind of fluctuates and rotates around next season. But it's going to be interesting to see that what are the Canucks going to do going forward now, as far as what players does Adam Foote want to see on this roster, along with Patrik Allvin and Jim Rutherford. What do we want to see on this Vancouver Canucks roster in order to give us the best chance to win? There's a lot of work that has to be done in the forward core, center. Defense is fine right now, and that's great that we have a defensive-minded head coach for that, because he's not going to play around with that too much. He's not going to try and just throw things at the kitchen sink and see what sticks. He's going to just try and just trust in his guys. He's going to hand the reins over to Quinn Hughes or his defensive coach and say, hey, this is what you're trusting with. I trust you with it. We'll just roll with it. Now let's focus on the forwards, because that's where we need the most work right now. So then it takes a little bit of the weight off of Adam Foote, especially in a first-time head coaching spot, and then the Canucks can kind of just worry about what they need to worry about, and then we can kind of get back on the track of trying to win games. But what do you guys think of all of this? Are you happy about Adam Foote being hired? Are you upset about it? What are your guys' thoughts down in the comments below as far as this signing? Would you rather have been Manny Malhotra? Would you rather it have been Marco Sturm or somebody else? Jeff Halpern, Mike Vellucci, Todd Nelson. There were so many guys that were around the same kind of category of coaches as far as assistant coach or AHL guy or both that has a mixture of experience. And there was a lot of good candidates here. Marco Sturm got an interview. Manny Malhotra and Adam Foote obviously got interviews. The other guys, not so much. They weren't explored as much in that sense, but they still were great options to have. And I very much like to see that this is a new wave of coaches that are coming up, where we're seeing that kind of the old guard is being pushed out and the new guard of AHL guys, assistant guys, or former players getting their shine as NHL head coaches to show what they're really capable of and to show that that's what you need in a coach. Look at the success Rod Brindamore is having. Look at the success that so many guys have been having after leaving their playing careers to become coaches, and it translates into playoffs and potential Stanley Cups. So hopefully that's the track that Vancouver's trying to keep going on. I know I might be seeming a little bit more optimistic than most. However, in an era where there's been a lot of bad news for the Canucks, this is at least something that can be a little bit of a glimmer of hope. Hopefully it stays glimmering and just gets even brighter so that we can get back into the playoffs. But let us know what you guys had to say about all of this down below. We could be dropping another video later on today as far as all the more information coming out about this. So stay tuned for that. Hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss that. But with that, I've been your host, Griffin. Take care.